All right, so it is 4:31. Welcome everybody to APVC 381. It's mobile device programming. My name is Arminda, and I'll be your instructor. And sorry about updating the course just yesterday. I was working on updating. We did switch from CAST, the College of Applied Science and Technology, into InfoSec. So they asked us to go ahead and move everything, switch everything over. So I was working on that and making some updates. And you will see throughout the course, and hopefully things are updating as we go by. But if you see anything that says CSCV 381, ignore that. It's still part of this class. That's what it was called before, but it's exactly the same class. So something else that you will notice is that because we are, like working with the new development, we are going to be learning more outside of the book, the books that were assigned for this course. The reason is because we will be programming in Android, or we're going to be developing Android apps, and we're going to keep up with what's out there. We're going to keep up with the new environment that they have. Something that I'm trying out this semester is that we're going to be using AI to create apps. I know that there's, like a pushback on using AI, but if I don't, incorporate this into class, then I might be doing a disservice to you guys. For anybody that, wants to actually pursue this or, just for fun. And so I'm not going to stop you from using AI, but you will see as we, continue, like as we talk about it for the rest of the class, how there's an embedded AI inside of Android Studio. Just so I'm going off track. Okay, so let me go ahead and start by talking about the syllabus and D2L. I could find, I think it's this one. And the book. All right, so let's talk first about D2L in the course, right? So this is mobile device programming. We should be able to see the Start Here course in week 1 applications. In the Start Here, we have the syllabus in there. The syllabus quiz does go ahead and cover 6 questions regarding the actual syllabus. So it's not just a contract where you read the syllabus, it actually asks some questions like, what is the name of the books that we're going to be using? Things like that. What is allowed, what's not allowed. So it's 6 questions. They come directly from the syllabus, so you should be fine. If you have the syllabus open during the quiz, that doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that you are aware of, sorry, the things that are going to be due here. Okay? And so that will be due September 1st. So one of the things and how this course works is we are only going to have 7 assignments, normal assignments, and a final exam. No final exam, sorry, a final assignment. So let's go ahead and open that syllabus. So course description, course involves a careful examination of mobile device programming. Emphases are on developing applications to the community that run on a mobile platform. Students will be able to develop, emulate, and test applications for mobile devices. The course also gives students insight into today's common procedures for getting their mobile applications work published. So prerequisites are might be different now, but this is what is on the UA Access, but I believe it's now APVC 320. So as long as you have some programming background, that's fine. We will be developing in Kotlin. You're not expected to know it yet. And again, with the use of AI, you should be able to pick it up very quickly, fairly quickly, okay? So this is my email address. I do respond to emails within 24 hours during the weekdays, and on the weekends, 48 hours. And my office hours are going to be right after the lecture, so I'm going to stop the recording and just have anybody that wants to be here ask any questions if you want to do it outside of the recording. If not, we could obviously do it in the recording. And also uh, office hours via appointment. Okay, so send me an email that says, hey, I'm struggling with this. Is there any time to meet? And I'll say, sure, of course. If I get the same questions from multiple people, I'll more than likely post an announcement explaining or a video trying to explain what's going on. Okay, the course format is fully online lecture and lab combination. So quizzes covering each module, lecture content. So the quizzes do cover the lecture content. Okay. Uh, so and then the final project, which covers the whole thing. Okay. So um, let's see, course objectives. The course topics include building blocks that can be used to develop mobile apps, event-driven programming, a software pattern applied in mobile app development, and students will study how to develop, emulate, test, and debug applications for mobile devices. When exploring course topics, students will use Android operating system and Android Studio. Okay. So, requirements for reading. So this is important, okay? And why this is important is because the assignments that we're going to be due are very, very similar to what the book is going through. Okay, so the book will go through some applications. We're going to be using the same concepts, but rather it's going to be a little bit different, so you get to do your own. Okay, but um, one of the first one is the big. Oh, this shouldn't have been a new bullet. It's the same bullet right here. Okay, it's the Big Nerd Ranch Guide, 5th edition. So sorry, I'm gonna call it the Android Programming Big Nerd Ranch Guide. Okay, and it's 5th edition. I'll show you where to go there. And then the other one is this other one. The Kotlin Programming Big Ranch First Edition is the one that's on O'Reilly, so I don't expect you to get the second one, but if you do have access to the second one, it will be beneficial to you. But you're not expected, and you could still work with the first edition, okay? But why first edition again? Because it's available on O'Reilly, and if not, like you're gonna have to go outside of that to get it. And then this is another one, another great book that you can go over. But like I said, you're not required to know Kotlin. It's pretty easy. You're gonna pick it up. Okay. So some of the materials, computer compatible with Android Studio. Okay. If you have a Windows, Mac, and I don't think it works on Linux. So if you could just get a virtual machine. The other thing is that I'm gonna try this new cloud emulator that Android Studio is offering, and Android developers are offering. I don't know how good it is, but we will be trying it out for those that don't have this. But also, Android Studio is a big program. It takes about, I'm gonna say, 1.9 gigabytes. So just installing the program, it's a heavy one. But then the apps that you're going to be developing also are going to take some space. So please make sure that you have some space available. The previous semesters that I've taught it, this was an issue for some of the students. So if you need to maybe clear out some space, get an external drive, that'd be a good thing to do towards the beginning. Okay. So the assignments and examinations, the idea behind homework assignments is to help you get more hands-on experience. So again, 7 homework assignments, and they're going to be due bi-weekly. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to cover the content by the end of I'm going to present the homework, and then you have 2 weeks to complete them. Okay, and they're very, very closely aligned to the lectures, to what we're doing, to the book. We're following closely the Android programming book. Okay, so just be aware of that. Assignments submitted after the first, so then for late policy, so assignments submitted after the first hour for the 24th hour period are after the due date and time are 1 day late. So pretty much if you're completing your assignment and it's due at 11:59 and you finish up by 1 a.m., I don't really care. It's not late, okay? But once it hits the 11:59 of the next day, that's when it's going to be counted as a day late, okay? So just be aware of that. There are 60 students in this class because of the combined sections. So it is going to take me some time to grade. And the way I grade is I am trying to be fair. And I know people put work, and sometimes program is frustrating. So I try to give partial credit. Okay, so that's why I go in there. I actually go download the program, revise it, see what's working, and then if things are not working how they should, then I go inside the actual program and see what went wrong. Okay, and so just be aware of that. But again, so 24 hours after the deadline is considered late. Okay, but if it isn't within those hours, just turn it in. You don't even have to email me. Okay. All right. So, but it also, if something happens, I know some of us travel because of work and you're going to be a day late. Maybe you're traveling abroad and there's not enough internet connections. You want to get ahead or you're asking for a week extension. That is fine. But please talk to me beforehand. Don't come to me like the last hour and then I'm like, it's kind of not going to be fair to the other students that are trying to get their assignments. But I know that the majority of us are working individuals. We have families. We have a lot of things going on. So it's okay. Don't panic. Email me. We'll be fine. Okay? All right. So there's the final project, and the final project will build off of four of the assignments. So there's going to be really three projects in total that you're going to be working on, and you will see that for like assignment 5, 6, and 7, they are in the same program. We're just building, 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 making it more complex. And then the final is just going to be building on top of those. Okay? And so grading policies, we're at the 10% scale, so 90 to 100 are an A, 80 to 89 is a B, and so on. Okay, the syllabus quiz is only 1%. There's online discussions, so these are again bi-weekly, right? So online discussions are, yeah, I believe bi-weekly. Can't remember, but the homeworks are worth 70%. And again, this is where your grade is going to come from. But 10% per assignment, 7 assignments, and then the final project is also 10%. Okay, but online discussions do help you if you want to get that A. Please do them. And we'll talk about online discussions in a little bit. Then there's some incomplete or withdrawal. Look at the policies. If you do want an incomplete, you have to complete 70% of the course material. Okay. Any questions? Hopefully I'm not talking too fast. Let me see, where's everybody? And does anybody hear me?
Yep, I can
Yep.
hear you.
Okay, awesome. I cannot find Zoom anywhere on my screen. That is weird. Okay. Oh, okay, found you, Zoom. All right. And are you seeing my screen by chance?
Yes, we can see the syllabus.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Excellent. All right. All right. Any questions so far? I see somebody in the chat now. Okay, cool. I'm sorry if I go a little fast. Let me know and I will slow it down, okay? But you will see the scheduled topics and activities here. Exactly, what to expect. Pretty much week 1 is just an introduction to Android application. The learning objectives are there, and the activities. So lecture notes and tutorials, and the nerd book, that's the Android. I need to fix that, but when I refer to the nerd book, it's the Android nerd book, okay? Chapter 1. And then an online discussion. And this is the same format for the rest of the weeks, okay? So we're not going to cover the whole book, specific chapters we will, but we will cover about a chapter per week, okay? So until the final, which we won't be covering anymore, okay? And AI. So this is new again. Like I feel like if I don't include AI, I will be doing a disservice. But let's use AI appropriately. And what is appropriately? What is an appropriate use of AI? Well, we want to make sure that you are using AI to learn. Um, and we know this with programming. We're struggling with something, we have to do research. Before it was all Google, right? But now we have AI. So if you are stuck in a question, it's like, hey, like I'm not sure, I still can't understand. I already watched the lecture and I still don't understand it. Go ahead and use the AI. Like you can look it up. That is totally fine. There's going to be other ways too that AI can explain it to you. But what I wouldn't want you to do is to submit the assignment into Gemini or ChatGPT and says, help me do this because then you might not learn anything. Okay. So please do not use it that way. Now, you might choose not to use AI at all. You're like, you know what? I'm actually going to go through this because I don't want to feel like I'm cheating or, like I really want to learn, and the best way that I'm going to learn is doing it on my own. Totally fine. It's up to you. Okay. But if you do use I need you to submit a statement that you use AI and as well as how you use it. So citations, right? Citing AI. It's like, hey, I used it to understand this concept because I was having trouble with here. And these are kind of the prompts that I used. Okay, so exactly how did you use it? Giving AI credit for this. All right. Any questions there? No? Okay. And if you still have questions about the syllabus, about what is appropriate, what is not, please do reach out later on. Okay. So there's additional resources for students, and you can go ahead and read, yeah, the rest. Okay. So that's it for the syllabus. Any questions about the syllabus or what to expect in this course? Oh, okay. So let's see. All right. So now that we covered the syllabus quiz, you should be able to see it. Then there's a schedule of work. And again, this is just so that you know where we're at each week. Okay, what should you be doing? When are your assignments due? So week one, and I'll show you assignment one, right? It's hello date. We're gonna start that this week, and we're gonna talk about it next week. Again, this is the easiest assignment. Everybody should get it working. Is just creating a button that says that displays a date. That's it. Okay. And I would start it as soon as possible, just so that first that you get Android Studio installed because that might take some time. It is a big packet. And then second, to get familiar with Android Studio. Okay, and then once you get that, again, the next ones you're going to build on. So different programs there. Okay, assignments. But if you want to break down, here's the breakdown. Okay, so the last day of class is the 10th, so that's when I expect the final projects to be due, and then it gives me some time to grade them. And where to get detailed help if you need it, you can visit that link. A guide for online discussions. All right, so discussions. Here are rules when participating in online discussions. Now, can you use AI for online discussions? Please do try not to. Like this is more of you building a community with your classmates, your colleagues, because there are going to be people struggling, right? And the questions for the discussions you're going to see are directly for how you're doing in your assignments. Like, hey, can you explain this concept? And it's up to you to explain it in your own words. And this allows me to know that you actually understand the concept. You can look it up. You don't have to know it there by right there and then, but use your own words, right? I am more concerned with you understanding than like getting AI to give you the answers or copying and pasting from the book. No, just like put it in your own words, and then you will see with other classmates how everybody's doing. Sometimes I see it's like, hey, like I'm killing myself here. This point is not working. I've tried this, and that. Somebody post, and then somebody else had the same issue, and they were able to solve it. And like again, it's for you guys, a community, to be able to work kind of together to solve issues like that. Okay. I mean, you can still email me and let me know, like, hey, I've spent so much time on this and I need help. And we can jump on in office hours and then, like talk about it. So, how to join online office hours, pretty much the same link that we have for class. It's just that we're going to meet at a different time that we schedule, or if you stay after class. Okay. And these are some resources that Dr. Lee offered here, so I wanted to put them there. Now, accessing the online textbook for this course. Okay, if you click here, it's going to talk about going into O'Reilly. So hopefully by now you are probably familiar with this, and if not, all you have to do is copy this link, and it's going to take you not to this book, but to the website called O'Reilly, and then just log in with your student credential. So you have to type in your Arizona email, and it's going to ask you to sign in, okay, and authenticate through the U of A. Shibboleth, okay? So then the other thing is, oh, so this is where you would find the book. Again, the Kotlin book and this one are the two big books, are the main books for this course. But this is even better, like the more close to the assignments that we're going to be working on. So the Android programming, when I say the nerd or the big nerd book, that's what I'm referring to, okay, the Android one. But if we open it, let's see. Again, these are going to be teaching you, guiding you step by step on how to create the applications. They're going to, reading. Uh, these are based on or my lectures are based on this book, okay? But now notice something, that this book is outdated, and that is because Android Studio launches a new update like twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. And so now imagine this is like 3 years old, maybe 4. So it's a little bit outdated. But you still the same format, the same things, and I will be guiding you in the lectures, right, closer, because I'm going to be using the most updated version of Android Studio. So follow my lectures a little bit more closer than the book in that sense, but for explaining things, the book is a great tool. Okay. So again, you will see that these are a little bit different. We're not going to be using API 24, rather 33 or 35. So we'll see that later. So that's the other thing I like to do in lectures, and I invite you to watch them, is that I will walk you through how to use Android Studio, what matters, what to focus on, things like that. And then the week before the assignments are due, at the end of the lecture, I share some code. I don't give you the full thing, the full code, but I do share some code. And it's more of a skeleton, like this is what you do here, this is like the function you have to focus on, things like that to help you out. So, and if I see too many of you struggling, then I do create a separate small video just talking about the assignment on its own. Okay, and that's normally like 3 days before it's due. But I want to give you a chance to actually try it out yourself before, like just being guided. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. All right. So this is the main one. The other one is the Kotlin book. So let me go ahead and check my playlist. It's the green one. So it's this one. And again, so Kotlin is a programming language, and that's what you're going to be using it for to understand it. But this is more of a resource, a secondary resource, and the other one is the primary resource, primary textbook. Okay. All right. So don't follow these steps in the book where they're trying to make you install these. When you download Android Studio, it already has Kotlin installed in it. So just like, don't even look at the first chapter. Start with the second chapter if you want to go over that. Okay. Any questions? All right. Okay. So the next thing I have is, let's see. Syllabus. Okay. So the course book information. Now, let's actually start with week 1 because we are on a schedule. So let's do that. The assignment one, hello date. Okay, so this is the assignment for this week, and I'll talk about it right before the end of the lecture, and I only have like 30 minutes. Okay. Then we're gonna cover these 3 lectures, or yeah, lecture slides today, and then at the end, you will see, and I do this every week. When I have the recording, I'll just post it here. Okay, the lecture recording. Now, the other thing that you will find is I upload sample code from the book. So the first application that you will see in the book is the geo quiz. Okay, yeah, the geo quiz. Okay, and we're gonna use that again. Sample code reference, kind of just to give you structure, give you an idea of what's going on, um, and something to look at. But I will share those codes every week or bi-weekly. Okay, the codes from the book if you want to follow the book. Now, assignment one, load day is up here, and the instructions are just a link to this document here. Now, there's week one. The discussion again, read through it. Now, there's two parts to the discussions. So first, you have to post your own reflection on Sunday by midnight. Okay, and comment somebody else's post on Monday. That's the other thing. Assignments are going to be due on Monday because we have class on Monday, and I want to give anybody a chance that shows up to class last minute to ask any questions. I know, like I said, most of us are working individuals, most of us have a lot of things going on, and we tend to leave things for last minute, and that I understand. So that's why I want to give you guys, like instead of having them do on Sundays, I have them do on Mondays, just in case you have any last minute questions, and you can ask right after the lecture. Okay. Any questions? No. All right. So if no questions, then let's go ahead and let me stop sharing and let's go into the lecture slides. Find them here. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Just can you see my PowerPoint? I don't know if I'm sharing the right screen. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right, so I did not update these slides, but this is APCV 381 mobile device programming. It's fall 2025. So the goals, right? Identify concepts to build Android applications and their components. Now, that's the other thing. Some of us, and I've had this before, when somebody wanted to create applications in Swift, and that is for iOS devices. Go for it. I'm not going to stop you just as long as the requirements are met. Um, and I don't have much experience with Swift, but if I could help you in any way, I'm more than happy to. Now, another question that maybe I should answer is, do we need to have Android devices? No, we don't. You will see we have Android Studio has an emulator, and we're going to be using that emulator to develop our apps and to test them. Now, if you have an Android device and you want to run that, maybe it's an older device that you don't care for, and you just want to use it, go for it. Like just I'm not going to stop you from doing it, but just make sure that you turn in a running, like a working assignment with that. Okay. All right. So the concepts are activity, service, broadcast receiver, content provider, intent, and Android manifest. So today we're going to cover pretty much activity. The Android manifest you're going to see throughout. And those other concepts, we're going to cover them one by one throughout the weeks. Now, so there's a sample application in chapter 1 of the book. Okay. So the goals for this course is to learn about mobile device programming, how to use the Android Studio platform, and we're going to be using Kotlin programming language. We're going to develop, again, Android applications, so expect a heavy programming course. So there's going to be no quizzes. The only quiz is going to be that syllabus quiz. So no quizzes, no exams, just programming and, like the assignments. And the other thing is understand what you're writing, right? What you're programming there. There's going to be 7 project assignments and a final project. So mobile developer roles include different responsibilities, language and skills, and job roles. So if you go into mobile device programming, you're going to see that some might be just in charge of designing, right? Some might be just in charge of building the applications, and the other one just of maintenance. But we want to make sure that this course allows you to do all of these things. And when you're developing applications, if you're going to do it for a big company, big corporations, then you have to work with a team. But if you're doing it for a small company, a startup, then it might just be you and somebody else or just yourself. So we want to make sure that you're able to do that. Like just start with the simple applications and learn what is needed there. So the Android platform, this is a software stack for mobile devices. It's the operating system, middleware, and key applications. It uses Android SDK to create the applications, libraries. This includes libraries and development tools. And there's a lot of documentation on developerandroid.com. So this is a site that I will ask you to keep somewhere in your notes written down. This is going to help you a lot. Okay, so developer.android.com. Okay, this is where you'll see new libraries. Where if things have changed, right? If you see that the book is outdated, this is where we're going to find the most updated information. So if you're curious about what a library does, what are the requirements, that's where we go. Okay. So I encourage you to take a look at, and I guess I get, share at the end of the lecture slides. So Android components, and we will, again, this is just an overview. We will be covering each one of these components as we go through the class. But there's the applications, right? There's a native Android apps, and these are the apps that come with your Android phone, even iOS, same idea, native to that specific operating system. And then there's a third-party apps, and this is what we will be developing. But you will see that we will be using some of the native apps as well to program our third-party apps. Okay, so there's the application framework. We're going to cover pretty much every single one of those topics in the application framework. This is where we're going to be focusing for most of the assignments, and we're going to focus on each one of them. Okay, but pretty much the activity manager, and this one manages the activities, and we'll talk about activities in a little bit. Then there's in libraries, right? These are the libraries that are out there that make sure that there's, like that the application is doing what it's supposed to. So, for example, the Android runtime, right? This one makes sure that your application is, I guess, running, right? That things are talking to how they should. So the Android runtime is actually the heart of Android, and this is what executes the actual applications. So pretty much when an app is installed, the art compiles the bytecode of the native executable, and then to that specific device. Okay, so we'll talk about it in a little bit. Then there's a Linux kernel. So Android is a Linux or uses a Linux kernel in general, right, to have all these the apps running, to have the operating system running, and so there's a lot of drivers that we have to be aware of, right? And how are we going to call these drivers? How are we going to be calling these other application tools to be able to run in our third-party apps? So we're going to cover them again. You're not expected to know this right now or memorize them. We're going to cover them one by one. Okay, just showing you a general overview. So again, Linux kernel. So Android uses a version of the Linux kernel with a few special additions, such as wake clocks, and this is what makes sure that your phone doesn't go to sleep. For example, you're watching a video and you're looking at your phone. This makes sure that the phone doesn't go to sleep when the video is playing. Then there's the binder IPC driver. Okay, and for this one, it just makes sure that the CPU doesn't go to sleep whenever something's running in the background. Now, then there's other important features for a mobile embedded platform, and these additions are primarily for the system functionality and do not affect the driver development. Okay. So then there's the application framework, and this one is mostly or is used most often by the application developers. This provides classes of enable applications, developer for Android applications, and it manages, you know, the user interface, the application resources, and the abstraction of the hardware access. Then there's, like I mentioned, the Android runtime, which is the heart of Android, is a fast, ahead of time, compiled runtime with modern garbage collection designed to scale. So pretty much, you write your code, right? You have to compile it to have it run on your device. That's what the Android runtime is in charge of. We have to compile it. Okay. Then there's the Android libraries. These are core Java libraries, and we call them Android, but with Kotlin and Android Studio, they automatically are converted from Kotlin into Java. So they're there. We won't be using Java for this, just because Java is more complex than Kotlin. Kotlin has simplified a lot of the things, and you will, if you read previous versions of the book, you will see that before Android apps were actually developed in Java, but it was very bulky, very complex. So then Google created Kotlin language to develop Android apps. Okay. Now, some of the advantage is that they're always with of mobile devices, that they're always with the users. They typically have internet access. They have GPS enabled, have accelerometer and compass, and most have cameras and microphones. And many apps are free or low cost. So one of the things that you should be able to do by the end of this class as well is, you should be able to know the way on how to publish your app. We are not going to publish our apps, but you know we'll talk about how you can do that. So then some of the disadvantages are the size screen, but now there's phones of many sizes. I mean, not as big as a computer or a tablet yet, but many sizes. They have limited battery life, limited processor speed, and sometimes have slow network access. They're limited or awkward input, such as the soft key, phone keypad, and touchscreen, or stylus, limited web browser functionality, and a range of platforms and configurations across devices. So you will see this as well, that if you, we'll talk, actually I can show you, but based on the version of your application, some devices become incompatible. Okay, or your app becomes incompatible with them. So then Android apps, we're going to they're built using Java or Kotlin, as well as libraries. So we are just focusing on Kotlin. Okay. The Android SDK tools compile your code along with the data and resource files into the APK, which is an Android package, which is an archive file within .apk suffix. So here, every application that you develop has its own archive file. Okay, so this is for security reasons. The information of this app is not shared with other apps. The files that are written for that app are not shared through the other apps, and they get a unique number that not even the application knows what they are. Okay, but only Android itself knows. So one APK file contains all the contents of the Android app and is the file that an Android-powered device uses to install the app. Okay, so that's the .apk suffix. All right, so in an Android, an app is a user in the multi-user Linux system. So by default, each app is assigned a unique Linux user ID. So that's what I was talking about in the previous slide. So this ID is only used by the system and is unknown to the app. So other apps don't even know about this ID. They don't even know what ID they are. It's just known by the system. So the system sets permissions for all the files in an app so that only the user ID assigned can access them. Okay, so files are stored inside of the operating system, and then the app accesses these files based on that unique ID that the system assigned the app. So that's how they're able to retrieve these files. Okay. So then each process has its own virtual machine. So pretty much think of an application as its own virtual machine that is running, things and is picking up files from the actual operating system. Okay. Building and running, so the compilers convert your source code into DEX files, so Dalvik executable files. And they include bytecode that runs on Android devices and everything else into compiled resources. So pretty much here. So the compilers get all these files and then convert it into DEX files. And then for the APK packager, and there's other debugging things that you can do. Okay. All right. So the APK package combines the DEX files and compiled resources into a single APK. Before your app can be installed and deployed into the Android device, the APK must be signed. Okay, and then this APK packager signs your APK using either the debug or the release key store. And then before generating your final APK, the packager uses Zibaline tool to optimize your app or to use less memory and then running on a device. Okay, so now this is where like who's going to be compiling this? Well, Android Studio does all this for us. Okay, so you don't have to get something outside of that. So publishing and monetizing. Publishing is a last phase of the Android application development process, but not the last phase of the actual application. Okay, so you prepare the application for release, configure your application, build and sign the release, test the release, update the application, and prepare remote servers. You release the application to users through an app marketplace or such as Google Play, and then releasing your application also through email or websites. Okay, so there's more information on how to publish the application. And this is again Google Play for Android market. So Android users expect your app to look and behave the way that it's consistent with the platform. This is not the focus of the course. We will emphasize programming and implementations more. You are recommended to follow material design guidelines for visual and navigation patterns, and you should also follow the quality guidelines for compatibility, performance, security, and more. So when we talk about your assignments, right? Follow some of the guide. Now we'll talk about the guidelines, right? What is appropriate, what's not. Like, we want to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing, that we use good colors. But I'm not grading on colors. I'm not grading on, where your button is located. As long as you didn't do like a white button in a white background, where like it's trouble, then I won't tell you anything. Like, yeah, that's fine. But if you do something like a white button in a white background, then we're gonna be talking, okay? And so the following links provide everything you need to design a high quality Android app. Okay. So again, I'm just gonna mention them, but I'm not really enforcing them. Okay. And so applications written in Java or Kotlin or C++ languages, good separation and corresponding security from other applications. So each application runs its own processes. Like I mentioned, each process has its own separate VM, and each application is assigned a unique Linux user ID. By default, files of that application are only visible to that application. And so, so there are 4 different types of components, and these are the activities. So this one is visual user interface focus on a single thing a user can do. So, for example, a single page that you have where a single thing that a user can do would be click on a button. Okay. Services are not visual interference. So this is the services that are running when you click a date button, right? So that's the first assignment. You're going to create an activity, put in a button, and every time you press on that button, it's going to display the date, the current date. That's all the assignment is, right? So what service is running in the background? Well, the time service, right? You need to know the time. So in this case, we're going to bring it to the front. We're going to display it, but in the background, it's running on its own. Then there's the broadcast receivers, and these receive and react to the broadcast announcements. And then there's the content providers, which allow data exchange between the applications. So for example, like the date, it's going to pick up the date from your phone, right? From the operating system and bring it. So that's what the content provider. For example, you want to, I don't know, something else that you can do here is add a map, right? So you have this application, you want to display a map. Well, the content providers are the one that's going to be bringing in the information from the map so that you can have it on your, or GPS to have it on your app, okay? But again, we're going to cover that later on. So we have activities. I already mentioned them. The most fundamental component of most applications. Most applications have several activities that start each other as needed, and each is implemented as a subclass of the base activity class. So there's a main activity, and you'll see later on as we develop the applications. There's a main activity, and this main activity has sub-activities. Okay, and an activity is an entry point into your application. So that's the first thing you're going to see, your main activity when you open your application. That should be the first thing. Does it always have to be? No. Is it, will it not work? No. I mean, it will work even if your main activity is not the first thing on your screen. Okay. But just so you know, standard, we normally do keep our main activity to be the starting point of, or the starting interface for our application. Services, they do not have a visual interface. They run in the background, for example, the network downloads, playing music, right? And the TCP UDP server to be able to navigate internet services. Then you can bind an existing service and control its operation. Then there's a broadcast receivers, and these receive and react to broadcast announcements. So, for example, low battery, right? Power connected, shut down, time zone chained, etc. So other applications can actually initiate these broadcasts. So for example, when you're trying to connect via Bluetooth, right, or an application requires Bluetooth, well, it's going to go ahead and show you that it's not connected or that you have to turn it on, right? And again, your application on its own displays a broadcast that it's low battery and it's showing you the little red battery symbol. All right, so then some of the examples. So content providers make some of the applications data available to their applications. So this is the only way to transfer data between applications in Android. So for example, and we'll do this towards the end when we try to keep track of some of the things. So for example, there's an app that keeps track of how many steps you give. And then you create another app and you want to make sure to transfer that information into your app. Or you want to share this information on Google Drive or with some other application. You would obviously create a share button, but the content provider is the one that's going to be able to sharing the data between them. Okay, so other applications use a content resolver object to access the data provided via a content provider. And so this is where we start with the actual programming. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go extra time, but we do have to cover some material. All right, so we're in the Android manifest. So its main purpose is in life is to declare the components to the system, right? So this is pretty much what is going to tell the actual Android operating system. This is the application I'm running. This is, again, the activity that's going to run. For the first time when you open this app, there's going to be icons, right, that we're going to be using. For example, this is small PNG, and this is where you get to decide, like when you create your application and you know how you see these icons, well, this is where we're putting them in the manifest. And that's how you have your icons, whatever you decide on your app. Okay. And there's the label as well. So different labels, and we'll talk about these, and we're going to expand on these more and more. Now, as of right now, we don't really touch the manifest. If something goes wrong in the manifest, your program won't work at all. But if we need to make changes to the manifest, I will guide you step by step, and I will tell you how to change those. Towards the end, you will be changing that Android manifest. Like in the last, I think, like 3-4 weeks, you'll be changing the manifest, and you'll be more familiar with that. Okay. So intents. An intent is an intent object with a message content. So activity services and broadcast receivers are started by an intent. So we'll learn more about intents later. Okay. But this is an intent filter. So in here, again, and I'm showing you code and you're like, oh, why are you showing me code already? It's okay. I'll walk you through like, what these are, and you'll see in the GeoQuiz sample code that it's up there where these come, right? But we're just going to talk about these for now. So this shows the launcher and the main activity to start. So the dot launcher, okay? Now, behind the simple seen by Android Studio, by default, each application has, again, a unique Linux user ID, and it executes its own processes. By default, each process runs its own virtual machine. So Android manages process creation and shutdown. So this starts processes when any of the application codes needs to be executed, and shuts down when the process is no longer needed. So you will see as we go through the class that there's a lot of things, moving parts to this. And there's going to be the manager that's going to be turning on applicate or processes, turning them off, services that are needed and that are no longer needed. And there's a whole life cycle to this as well. Okay. So an example project is the GeoQuiz. And again, this is a project that is on D2L. So the GeoQuiz tests the user's knowledge of geography. So the user presents a true false to answer the question screen, and then the GeoQuiz provides instant feedback. So for example, is Canberra is the capital of Australia. So if you answer correct, it's going to tell you correct, right? It's going to give you this toast. We call them the little toast. It's just like a message that shows up, pops up for a few seconds, and then it leaves the screen, okay? So the figure at the right shows the results of user pressing the true button. So yes, Canberra is the capital of Australia. So before continuing, please check out the document importing an existing Android project. And this document is already on D2L. So importing an existing Android Studio project. You will download the folder or the zip file. You have to unzip it. So that's very important. Unzip it before you open it using Android Studio. All right, so then instead of going through the slides here, which are available to you, what I am going to go ahead and do is I am going to Android Studio now, for time, and I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about it there, okay? And then I'll show you how Android Studio looks, but pretty much the slides are there for you to see them, but I'm just gonna go over there, Android Studio, and show you, okay? But yeah, and then if I'm gonna come back to the slides after I show you Android Studio. So I'm gonna show them on slide 40. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. So this is Android Studio. You should be able to see it. Okay. So yeah, this is Android Studio. And one of the things that, we have to look at is uh, the interface. So this is a tool where you're going to see all these tools. And you know what? What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new project and then go from there. Okay, but you can go ahead and open a project by going in here. And then I created a folder called Android Studio Projects. And let's say I'm going to go ahead and open hello date. Okay. I'm gonna open in this window, and this is how you would import. I'm gonna trust the project. This is how you would import a project in here. Okay, I should do it. I should have done GeoQuiz. Yeah, let me see and go ahead and import GeoQuiz. So open. Um, yeah, give me. Yeah, I don't have it here. Okay. All right, but this is how you would even open GeoQuiz. Okay. And then the other thing is when you open it, it's gonna take some time, and you will see the messages down here. This has this build bar, and it's gonna talk about the Gradle. Okay, so it's just importing all the application, making sure that's compatible, that we have everything, building it, all these things. Okay, just to open it. So it does take some time the first time you open any of these apps. Okay, and it also depends on how big your application is. So the other thing I do want to talk about is, so this is the tool side. Okay. Right here, you can see how it's building. So it's that little hammer icon that shows you the building. Okay. Now let's see. Okay. Now the other thing I want to show you are these files here. The Gradle's just building now, and you won't see the right files until everything has been loaded correctly. But before, like while that loads, I want to show you the device manager. Okay. So in the device manager, I have all these phones that I could just turn on and, it's the emulator, and I could just run the application and see how it looks. Okay. How do we get these? So you open this device manager. You can also do it from the top control menu, but open up device manager. And then from device manager, you just click on this plus button right here, which says add new device. Okay. And then we create a virtual a device from here. Now, again, like you get to pick your device. What I recommend for this class is the Pixel 8 or Pixel 9. So it's up to you. It depends, again, on your operating system. If your operating system is too new, if you haven't had anything before, you might not be able to downgrade. But if you can, just use Pixel 8. Okay. So we're going to click Pixel 8. Then we go into next. And then you get to name your device. I'm going to call it APCV 381 device. You get to name it whatever you want, or just leave the name if you want. Now for the API, I want you to use 33 or 34. Okay, just actually stay at 34, the upside down cake. And if nothing is showing up here, then we're gonna have to go ahead and download those APIs. Okay, so show all, and then look at what they are, and then you see these little download icons. That's where you're gonna download or select to download the APIs. Okay, but I already have API 34, 35, and 36 downloaded. Or actually, just download now. It's gonna take some time, so I'm not gonna do it right now. But that's where you would download it. Okay. And there's additional settings that you can play with, but you don't have to. Okay, and then you just do finish, and it's going to take some time, and it's going to show up right here. Okay, and then right here, for example, the ones that I already have are the Pixel A API 33, which is the tiramisu. Okay, and this is what, for example, when I finish created my code, I'm just going to go ahead and run it here and play it. Now, it says that my project has been has been compiled, so it's good to go. I no longer have all these orange, I guess, marks over here. It says that it actually finished. It's good. It tells us to upgrade our project upgrade recommended. It says the Android Grader plugin version 8.5 has been upgraded, has an upgrade available. You can go ahead and upgrade it if you want uh, to the newest one, which is, I can't remember. I can't see here. It doesn't say here. Okay. Well, you can do it if it's not working, but if it's working, you don't have to do that. Okay. So the building was successful. Now, when we open the app, right? This is where I skipped all those slides because I'd rather just show you here. Okay. Now, this is the app that we created, right? And then, or that you're going to open, in this case, the GeoQuest. You're going to go and look at a few things. First of all, the manifest, right? Again, this is the information that we have of our app. What is the name of our app? Well, it's Hello Date. Okay, we're not changing anything. This is just giving us information on the theme that we're using, the target API, the main, right? The Android activity is going to be called .main activity. Okay, and we'll see that in the files that I'm going to show you right now. Okay, the intent actions, again, we will cover these later on in class, but don't worry about those. Okay. Now, this is something that's important, and I will show you how to create a project in a little bit. But pretty much, these projects files are going to be created for us. There's going to be the main activity. And this is, again, right in that Android manifest, this is that screen that's going to show up, the .main activity. So that's this one. And it's written in Kotlin. So there's a .kt extension. Okay. So the thing about a main activity is that's going to have a package in here, and for all your assignments, this is a requirement. You do have to use this package extension edu Arizona. It's not CAS. CAS was before, but we're going to do infosec, and then your name and last name, and then the name of the application. And we're going to talk about these more next class. Okay. But that's one of the files you're going to be editing. So the main activity, and when you do your assignment one. Okay. The other one is a layout. So in the resource files, there's a directory called layout, and this layout is where you get to design how your app looks. Okay, so in this case, I did a round button. I think this, yeah, it was a round button, so it's called date button, and it's just when I press on it, it just displays the current date. Okay, but we're going to talk more about this in next class. And then setting up the values. So what colors are we going to use, and the strings that we're going to be using there. Okay. So again, we're going to talk about these. These are the files that we will be editing for assignment one. Main activity, the layouts and the resources layout, the theme colors right here, the values under values. Okay. And we don't have to make any other changes for this first assignment. Okay. Okay, so this is how you would look at it. And then let's go ahead and run it. I'm not sure it's going to run yet because I might have changed something, or it might not be working right now. But how you run it is pretty much you just run it here. But when you for the first time, it might ask you to add your device. So make sure you add your device. You pick what devices that you want to run it with, and then you just click on this run button. Okay. Now, let's see. So it takes some time because again, it's picking up a phone. So I haven't used this specific version of Android Studio. I was before, I guess this one, it was Ladybug. I can't remember, but I'll show you which also before leaving the what version to download from Android Studio. And I think that's where I should have started, but that's okay. I'll show you where to go download this. All right, so then when you click run, I mean, it's taking some time. And like I said, it might not run. Oh yeah, it's there. Okay. And then when we click here, I should have a hello date. So, okay, this is not a good example, but that's that button. It's not displaying the date yet. Okay, but that's okay. All right. So to create a new project here, so that's how you would run it. Okay. So to create a new project, you can click here and just click on new project. Now, pay close attention here because this is where people actually, might have trouble with. You might be tempted to create an empty activity. We're actually going to be creating an empty views activity. And the reason is because in an empty activity, it doesn't have a lot of the pre-built things that we need uh, with an empty views activity. With an empty views, it already has the view provided for us, and we don't have to create some of the files that you would have to if you had an empty activity. Okay, so empty views activity is important. Then we click next. This is where you put your application name. So I'm going to call it APCV, APCV, and I'm going to call it hello world. Okay. Now notice here, when you first open Android Studio, it's not going to give you this. This is where you have to change it yourself. So the package name is eduarizona.infosec, and then your name, first name and last name, and then and then the name of that app that you are calling. Okay. Save it in a location where you would be saving all of your Android Studio projects. So I would encourage you to create a folder somewhere and keep all your files. The language, please do choose Kotlin. Okay. If you want to do it in Java, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm just telling you it's going to be very complicated. Okay. And then the minimum SDK, I clicked 33. You can go lower than that, but this one tells you about how many devices it will be compatible with. So if you go lower, it's going to give you a higher rate of devices. But I'm just going to keep it at API 33 minimum. Okay. And then the build should be Kotlin, not Groovy. Okay, so Kotlin DSL, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, and then when we click finish, oh, and it opens somewhere else. So let me stop sharing. And I lost. Okay. All right, so this is how it's gonna look. Okay, and again, right, nothing is here. It created all these files for us. And when you go into the app, you go into the source, you go to the main, and it's still building. Okay, there we go. There we go. This is what we are trying to figure out. Based on your computer, this might take longer. Based on the resources that you have, it might be faster. Okay, so go into the manifest and you will see you don't have to do anything. It already did it for you. Okay, so don't touch that one. And then when you go into the Kotlin plus Java, that's where you're going to be editing. Okay, that one, and then your resources one, you go into the layout. And this is just what's it called, how your screen is going to look, and you can check out the different, and I'll show this next week as well, the activity, how are we going to modify that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then all right, so then we go values again, and then you don't have to touch the Gradle yet. So that's how you create an app, and we'll talk about how to make modifications, what we need to modify for next week as we create our app. So where should you be by the end of this week? You should be here. Okay, you should have Android Studio installed, and I think I forgot to go over where to install it. So I have Android Studio installed. Go over the lecture slides and just be here. Explore Android Studio. Find where things are at. Right. The build tools are here. The screens here. Setting up your device. So that's all you need to do. Set up your device, and you can even run it. So this should, in theory, run if everything's still good. Okay, so that's where you should be by the beginning of next class in here. And then next class we're going to talk about modifying, making modifications, or yeah, creating that button. Okay. So let me stop the share, and then the last part. Almost there. Okay. Let me see. Pin Safari here. Okay. Where are you? I'm just gonna share here. Hopefully it comes up. See. Okay. Are you still able to see my screen? Is anybody here? Nope. So hopefully you can see my screen. All right. So this is the last part I want to talk about. It's here. Okay. So how do I get Android Studio? So go to developer.android.com. Okay. And you're going to see this here. And then you're going to click on download Android Studio. All right. And then go ahead and download Android Studio Narwhal feature drop. Okay. And then accept the license. And then it detects my computer. So, but for yours, if you have a Windows computer, it'll pick up your computer. Mine has an Apple chip, so I'm just going to do that. Now, the other thing that, like if you want to try this out, it's still in beta, but try Android Studio Cloud. And the Android Studio Cloud is going to take you to Firebase Studio. And here you have to fill out this Google form. I was actually experimenting with this over the weekend. Oh, I guess they changed it. Okay, so but this is a workspace for you and to try out your Android. Oh, I already have access to it, so that's why it's allowing me. But let's see, sign in. And then you have to fill out this form so that you get access to it, okay? But if you haven't done it for the first time, then you would just, or if you already filled it out, then you should just go in there and it should be fine, okay? And then once you download it, you go ahead and install, build it. It does take some time. It is some gigabytes of storage there. The other thing that I do want you to check out is Android Development Environment, and this is a guide on how to use that environment. Okay, so let me see. All right, so it seems like everybody left. I might have to change the time to make sure it's 2 hours long, not 1 hour. It's just that it is a lot of content, and I'd rather be thorough and show you how to do things. But I do apologize, it did get a little bit longer. But if you have any questions, please do email me. I do reply within 24 hours. Hopefully, you watch this to the end and answer any questions that you have. So by next class, please do have Android Studio downloaded. You're able to open your new project and able to run it in the emulator. So if you have any questions with the setup, please feel free to reach out to me and go over the slides for this week. And that's all you need to do. And from that, we should be good to go for next class. If you're having trouble installing Android Studio, let's go ahead and set up some office hours. And yeah. We'll see you next time.